can't make it to work.
So
The
that's not
station
for
will never
everybody.
open and it'll have
Since
to
you're a
close.
coach. Some things, yeah, but obviously not everything. Okay, it is 6:30, Tuesday, May the 20th. This is the Finance, Legal, and Audit Committee meeting. Roll call, please.
Garfield.
Here.
Burrow. Yes. Mensch.
Here.
Rolfs.
Here.
DeWitt.
Here.
Pence. Peterson.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Mayor. Eight
Here.
present. Eight present,
Sorry.
1 absent.
Make sure your mics are down, please. Any public comment? We have no public here. Next up is Phil with Center Street Productions. And just a little introduction of why Phil's here. I feel that the city needs to do more video promotions and more tourism. We really aren't doing any tourism to speak of. We have a website and we have a Facebook page. And I'd like to do a lot more on it because we need to tell people about Watseka and what we have to offer. And Phil can certainly do that. How many of you have seen Phil's videos before? Everybody?
He makes poop look sexy.
Yes, that's right. Thank you.
Wow.
That's well said. So I asked Phil to be here to basically let us know what he has to offer, what he can do for the city. It looks like there's 3 different levels that we could maybe have Phil do for us. Phil, if you want to speak, come up to the podium, please. Make sure the mic's on. And maybe explain some of the information you give us.
Yeah, so,
Is that mic on? Okay,
yeah.
thanks.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
As long as you guys can hear me.
Yep.
So as you guys know, I've done several videos for the city over the last couple years, working with John Allhands. This is actually kind of a rework of a proposal that I gave him, but I don't think was ever voted on. He just asked me like each individual video. And we had talked about trying to make something a little bit more formal. Like I said, I kind of had worked on this. I updated it a little bit with some new things, but basically just kind of wanted to give a couple different options. Like if you guys wanted to try to set up something that's on an ongoing basis, I don't know if there would be a committee that would be involved in deciding like what each individual video would be. But I can just kind of walk through the proposal if you want.
If you would, please.
Yeah, so there's 3 different options. They're basically the same. It's just a different amount of each different type of video. So I kind of split it up into 4 different categories of videos. So one would be like 30-second, really short social media content, which I feel like I could pull that out of everything else that I've shot or would shoot for the city. And then, so that would be like the simplest thing to make. Basically just kind of reworking content that's shot for other purposes. And then event highlights, so that would be like your 4th of July or Christmas parade, the train that came to town, that kind of thing. So like each package would have a different number of those available per year. And then kind of like a little bit more involved video would be something that would be like a spotlight on a person, a business, or an organization. We talked about a couple of times, maybe trying to find like a retired police officer that lives in Watseka and talk about why did they decide to stay in Watseka or come to Watseka, maybe like a remote worker. So like looking at different things that we could spotlight. I just shot, if you guys saw the video on the new memorial that came to town at
Gold Star Memorial.
The Gold Star Memorial. I would kind of think that would fit in that category. Like we shot a couple of days, did some interviews. You know, it was a little bit bigger than just like an event video, but kind of like trying to spot like a very specific thing. And then I know you guys remember the Watsika infrastructure video I did, or the outdoor adventures. I was kind of thinking like those are kind of much bigger projects. And I just called that specific topics, but it's kind of like, you know, if there's something where we're gonna have a lot of days of shooting and try to focus on something that's a little bit of a bigger idea, that would be another category of video. So then it's really just a matter of like, how many of those do we want to try to do per year? And then just coming up with a total, and also just for budgeting, like, you know, how much would that be per month? So I tried to just break it all down so it's easy to kind of see what those things are. I know, like, we've talked about a couple of different things related to marketing. I'm not really like a marketing agency, so I don't do print stuff. I don't do a lot of still photography, although that's something that we've talked about. That's something that I might be able to get into if I have additional people. You know, I have different people I'm connected to. There might be some ways that I could help with that. But video is really my strength, so that's kind of what this is looking at. And I guess I would say it would probably be helpful for me to have one or two people, or, you know, a couple people that kind of know what's going on and have some interest in what we would highlight, or at least some feedback on that to kind of know, you know, what we want to highlight as a city. I've always kind of gotten that from John Allhands, just kind of like calling me up like, hey, next week we've got something going on. Can we shoot it? This is just kind of like an effort to be a little more proactive about that.
Phil,
So,
I can see this maybe possibly, and I've not talked to her yet, Amanda Hibbs with the chamber.
yeah, sure.
She is so active and interactive with all the businesses and all the activity in Watsika. I think she would be a good person to interact with her. She knows what's coming up, what the events are going to entail, what might be a good video. That way you and her could plan together. I could see you and her working together a lot,
Sure.
possibly, for this.
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of the things I was thinking is that we wanted to, you know, do something like a highlight of the people that within the community that who does a lot of work for the city, like, you know, volunteering wise, and do like a spotlight of shining the light for somebody that, you know, so we can create some positivity within the
Yeah.
community, that they can engage with the residents and stuff like that. So that would be a great way of, like, you know, engaging with the residents as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yep.
I guess it's, I guess that we need the council's thoughts about, do we want to get involved in this? I think we do. And to what level? You know, how much do we want him to do for us?
If we started out on a lower end, we could always call you to do more.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking too.
Yeah, I didn't really build that in here, like if there's extra things or whatever. I just was trying to give a picture of what it might look
An
like.
estimate
so,
of what it might cost for the year.
Yeah.
We tried to maybe somewhat budget for the year, possibly.
Yep.
But that would be a good idea, is to start with the lowest package and,
Or somewhere in the middle or something like that.
yeah.
Yeah, and then work from there, see what need there is, and then,
I just think there's so much in Watsika that even some of the local people don't know about.
Exactly.
I mean, if we want to attract anybody that's possibly looking for a town to live in or to visit, I think it's important to get it on social media and our website. Everybody's on social media, I guess, seems like.
And I think, too, one of the things that it helps with is, you know, once you start to see people that are involved in different things, like you might see them at Walmart or something like that, but it's like, oh, I remember that person, you know, they're involved in this, and you might have a connection there that you wouldn't have otherwise, you know, things like that, too, so.
Historically, budget, where would this fall, and how do we sit budget-wise?
Under
for marketing?
promotions, since we're starting a new year, our promotions is new.
Okay. Do we typically have room in there? for
Yes.
this? We do?
Absolutely, that's what it's for. Some of the hotel motel tax isn't built into not all of it, but some of it's built into the promotions line. That's where some of the money comes from.
I don't have exact numbers for you, Jeff, but I know like the very first video I did for Watsika was with Ted Horner, and he just raised support, you know, from different organizations to cover it. I don't think that came out of the Watsika budget at all. And then John Allhands had me do a couple of years, and I don't know that we ever went over $4,000 or $5,000 in a year. And I think he had like a limit that he had to stay in or something. I really don't know, because he just asked me to do things. But yeah, I think that would be a historical, and
So
it's not like I've done that every single year either.
So what's proposed here may be less. I mean, obviously it could be more if we say we want
Of course,
another event,
right,
is what
Yeah.
you're thinking.
right.
Yeah.
If we want to start out with the lowest package, and he does some things. If we end up doing more than that, then obviously, like Don said, we could start get into a. He'll let us know. You know, Phil would let us know that, hey, you've used up all of your the activity. We need to start billing, and he'll obviously let us know.
Right. I think the benefit to this really is just so that I kind of know what to plan for. Like, I get pretty busy, especially in the summer. Like, and if I know, like, hey, we're focusing on these different things, then I can block that time a lot easier. So I mean, I've had several where it's like, hey, something's going on tomorrow or something's going on next week, and it's, you know, it's I love doing that. Like the train that came. I mean, I think we talked about that like 2 or 3 days before it showed up in town, and you know, it turned out that I was free that day, and that video turned out super cool. But you know, being able to kind of plan a little ahead to know like, hey, these things we know we're for sure that we're going to shoot would really help me a lot.
Okay, thank you.
So.
Okay. Any other
Make up
comments?
something like what activities the kids are doing, playing ball, swimming, and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Have
I mean,
some
we have a
clips
huge,
and
you know, baseball, you know, all that
Right.
kind of stuff
baseball,
is,
softball.
Right.
yeah,
You know, and
yeah, yeah. Really, I mean, I guess that's the other thing too is like if we're saying like, hey, we have this number of videos, we can start looking at like, okay, what are the top things that we really want to focus on, and kind of pick those and you know work through. And like, it might not be the same thing every year. You know, if you guys decide you want to do this year after year. But, you know, we'd be able to kind of plan ahead and say, like, hey, these are the top things we really want to focus on, and kind of work through it that way, too. So,
I mean, I will say your reputation you built is phenomenal. You've done an excellent job, and I know you're doing work all over the place, not just locally. So you really are skilled, and we're blessed to have you in our community, I think, with your talent. So
Absolutely.
appreciate what you do.
thanks. Appreciate it.
Okay, any comments?
I typically don't like spending money on stuff like this, but in this case, over the years, I've seen your work, Phil, and it's excellent. I think it's money well spent, and I'm going to go the opposite end. We got the money in promotions. It's what that money's there for. I'm going to say we go with option one. It's
Okay.
It's best bang for the buck, in my
Okay.
opinion.
Okay.
We can do a lot with that. It gives us the overall. We can go from little to the extreme if we want. And plus, there's a lot there we can do in a year. And like I said, the money's there in promotions.
I think we're going to end up doing more than we think.
I understand that, but this.
No, but I mean, if we take the lower package, I think we're going to end up the cost-wise
Yeah,
with the higher package, because we're going to go to the,
but if we start with
It'll be
lower
selective.
and go up, why not just start with the top tier and just
Sure.
start there?
yep,
Instead of starting lower and keep adding more money to it.
yep,
Just start where because if you start looking through this, you get more with the number one package than what you would
Right.
do building from the bottom package up. Like I said,
absolutely.
the money's in promotions. That's what that money is earmarked for.
Yep.
And we've used it, but we haven't used it the way I think it should have been used in the past, even when I was on the council the first 2 terms.
Agreed.
No, we have an opportunity with Phil and social media, and we could even take this a step farther with some of the local news agencies like WCIA, Channel
Absolutely.
4, because they run packages too through the summer where
Okay.
we could possibly use a video with your permission, of course.
Yeah, we could
that could
create.
be spotlighted.
Yeah, if you want to run stuff on TV, I mean, I have a little experience with that. I could I could easily create 30-second spots that they would run. Yeah.
I will say, to add to that, Carrie Randolph is working with WCIA now, and she is from the Iroquois County, from Crescent City, and very much wanting to do more Iroquois County promoting. So, I agree.
What was it, 4 years ago when we had the hometown
Yeah.
episode here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was very well received.
Yeah.
So Benny, what's our budget look like right now?
Budget, it's a new year, so our budget's pretty heavy.
So if we pick the first option,
Yes, it's fine.
it's fine?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So did Mark make a motion?
Mark
I'll
did
make
make
that
a motion.
Not yet.
I'll make the motion right now.
I'll
We'll go with
second that.
option one.
I'll
Okay.
second the Mark's motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second to take option number 1 from Phil with Center Street Productions. Do you need an amount?
Nope, I got it.
Okay. All right, roll call, please.
Miller,
Aye.
Peterson,
Aye.
Bro,
Aye.
Rolfs,
Aye.
DeWitt,
No.
Garfield,
Yes.
Mensch, Mayor.
Aye.
Roll call carried 8-1.
Thank you, Phil.
All right. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
We'll be in touch. Next up is Jeff Memiga with Reuter Technologies. And you all have paperwork from Reuter. And this is in reference to our current internet service here at City Hall, along with our phone system. So Jeff, it's your podium.
Okay, several years back, we had AT&T bring fiber optic cable into this building and upgrade the internet service. And you had what they refer to as ADI. It's a managed internet service. And the monthly fee, you were under a contract. That contract has expired, but you had to maintain it for a number of years. The cost of construction to get the fiber into the building is included in that monthly fee. That's why it's so high. So now you can change that. That's what we're proposing here, is that it would still be AT&T, still gonna be the same fiber, same internet, only we're going with the 1 gig package, which is basically 10 times faster than the current speed that we're using. And we're gonna do this for less money because we're gonna switch it from ADI to ABF fiber internet service. So it's like managed and unmanaged. There's really no difference. Nobody's gonna notice the difference other than it's gonna be 10 times faster. So, and we won't be stuck under a contract thing. So what we're proposing, you change the internet. Your current bill has the internet service. We also are running AT&T voice on top of that internet, and that's your monthly total. The proposed option here is that we change the internet. That gets us down to $190 for that. We have the Connexus installed as something new, as a backup. And we picked just the different options, but we picked the 100 because that's currently what you're running at. So your backup would be the equivalent of your today's everyday internet. The ESI hosted phone service is basically replacing the second item up above. The AT&T voice will now be ESI voice. That is us. The phone system in the building is ESI. These are ESI phone lines that would be coming in on the internet. So we're just changing it from AT&T phone service to ESI phone service. I put the taxes in there just so it kind of got an estimated ballpark, and then what your monthly would be. So you're saving, we're going from $800 a month to $500 and some a month, and we're gonna have 10 times faster internet, still on fiber, and we'll have the other internet as a backup.
Which we do not have right now.
You don't.
And this
Now-
Thursday, we had no phones and no internet.
You had no phones because you had no internet.
Right.
That's the thing. Everything runs on the internet.
Right.
Keep in mind too, your cameras are all stored in the cloud. So even without the internet, we have a device here that Kathy asked me about this tonight. It stored the video for a while. If your internet's down for 2 or 3 weeks, we're in trouble, but a day or two isn't a big deal. As soon as the internet comes back, all your camera video gets sent up and stored. So I checked with Jason just to verify your internet equipment you currently have has that transfer switch, if you want to think of it that way, like a generator does, that when the primary internet goes down, your network will switch over to the secondary, and you won't even know it happened. Everything will still, your email, everything keeps working. And when the AT&T comes back up, it'll switch back. So it's kind of an automatic thing. But you already have the network equipment here in-house to do that. So we're basically giving you 10 times faster internet and a
Less
backup
money.
internet that's equivalent to today's internet, and we're gonna save money. So,
Is the Connexus 100 megabyte at 89, is that because it's a business versus residential?
I guess, yeah, I
Yes.
can't
'Cause
answer that.
I guess because
Yes.
one business I'm looking at is $89 for a gig of service from Connexus as well.
Yeah, I know residential and
pricing.
business are different, yeah.
And what about MediaCom being the neighbor? Is that not an option?
Did not check that, no. We just threw this in here just to kind of give you an idea.
Well, we're gonna save a lot of money. We're getting a lot faster service, and we're gonna get a backup.
A lot of places are doing it. We do it. We have a primary, and we have AT&T and Comcast. And one's primary, one's our secondary, and we've used it multiple times, but it keeps us running, our phones and our email and everything else, so.
And it's all running on different fiber, so
Right.
Lauren cuts a cable, it's not cutting out everything.
Always blaming Lauren.
Always blaming Lauren.
Throw him under the bus.
Got big shoulders.
Check with Lauren first.
I mean, the redundancy is still there because it's two separate fiber lines.
Right.
Yes.
I think we're silly if we don't go with this.
Okay.
The other part of this, not that it's a big deal, the one-time cost at the bottom is because ESI right now, so we're gonna establish ESI dial tone, if you will, here, which comes in delivered on your internet. We're gonna move the phone numbers from AT&T to ESI. That's
Which is the cloud, right?
yeah,
The phones are gonna be in the cloud from now on.
right. So, and they are now.
They're
but
now.
they're
It's all
with
VoIP.
AT&T's
It's all a
side.
VoIP service with.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna pull them from AT&T, pull the numbers over to our side, and then we'll have them. So there's a one-time charge for all that.
Okay.
But they're running a promotion where they'll give you a new box. I wanna say for free, but basically they've included that in your monthly, in that $200 a month, you're getting a brand-new box that runs all the phones in the building. So we're kinda updating that and bringing it up to current. So it's like getting brand-new thing for free, so.
APs throughout this building, is that all still reusable, or are you replacing those two?
No.
Or do you have APs in here, or do you have,
Oh,
Just the-
none
just
of
the
that
Wi-Fi
changes,
mesh or
yeah, you
anything?
won't even know that we've done this one. So all the network equipment stays.
okay,
Like
so it's
it
all
is, yeah.
reusable with that too?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So that's what your one-time costs are, is to change out the box, reprogram everything, install it, and set it up, and bring the numbers over from AT&T. The ESI hosted is a one-time charge to get the numbers moved from AT&T to the ESI. And then so you just have that one-time upfront cost, so.
Okay. Any other questions for Jeff? Okay. Any motions or second? Charlie, was that a motion that you made?
Sure, we'll go with that.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
DeWitt,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Mensch,
Yes.
Garfield,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Rolfs,
Aye.
Bro,
Yes.
Mayor.
All right,
Roll call carried.
thanks, Jeff.
You're welcome, thank you.
Okay, next item is advanced computer information. Look at your paperwork on that. This is, as you can see, it's any city or anybody is concerned about the web these days and what could happen on the web with, especially with a business or city functions. Especially that, with cyber protection, spam filtering and so on. And, if we get hit with spam, I think any city, any business would be in desperate trouble. So we ask Advance to give us some information about cyber protection, dark web monitoring, and email spam filtering. You can see the fees there. There is a monthly fee involved. There's a one-time setup fee. I think we have some service now as far as cyber spam protection, but this will take it to the highest level possible, I think, is what I understand.
I think we really need this because the school I know right now cybersecurity is like a big thing right now, and then the school keep getting hacked by stuff, and I think this is a priority.
This is who you currently use?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you mentioned you've been very happy with
Oh,
them.
yes. They're on top of things all the
This is
time.
just adding to the current contract. Is there a commitment time with that term?
That I don't know.
Okay.
I guess he didn't send me that. Yeah, they're great people. I mean, they're on top of things. If I have trouble during the day, all I gotta do is send them an email, and within 10 minutes, I've got IT on the phone, and they're fixing my problem.
I don't see where it's a contract on the breakdown here.
I'm
on
just
the front
curious.
page.
It was,
I don't think there is.
I know you're happy with them, and otherwise I would reckon C&G has also been wonderful for my business too, so, but you're happy with them, and
Yeah, they're great.
I think pricing is fair from what I know experience-wise.
Okay.
But-
Any other thoughts?
I'll make the motion to go forward with this.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments? Okay, roll call.
Garfield,
Yes.
Bro,
Yes.
Mensch. Rolfs,
Aye.
DeWitt,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
Roll call carried.
Thank you. Okay, everybody got a copy of a treasurer's report?
Oh, yes.
And I did not bring mine in here. Any comments about the treasurer's report? Comments, questions?
Where is the treasurer's report?
I know there's a lot of papers tonight, so we got a stack.
Trying to find it.
Sorry.
I did not see one.
What does that look like?
Does anybody see a treasurer's report yet?
Yeah, I got mine.
You want me to go get a copy of it?
Oh, no, I don't.
Yeah, maybe get copies of the treasurer's report.
I don't have mine. I just had the accountant's report.
Okay,
That's the count.
sorry. She's gonna get copies of the treasurer's report. While she's getting that, I also asked our treasurer to look into the projects we have going on this year. The Martin Street extension, the Martin Street resurfacing, the Watsika High School water main expansion to 6th Street. Those are all covered with a grant or with TIF. And also, the Oslin grant later on this year is also covered with a grant. So I don't see any major cash coming from the city for a cash outlay. So I asked our treasurer to look into investing some money into a CD for either 6 months or a year, since we're not going to need big money. So that's this sheet here. You have copies of bids for investment. Hopefully you guys can find that. You guys all, everybody see a bid sheet? So I had her check the different financial institutions around the Watsika. And I think it would be worth investing money at this time, since the projects we have going on right now are either funded with the grant money or with the TIF. So we have an opportunity here to do a little investing and then have it come back in 6 months or a year.
Thank you.
Is there any penalties if we draw it out, you know?
I'm sure there is. I don't know what the penalty is. It's just like a personal CD. If you pull it out early, there's some kind of,
You lose part of your interest that you've made.
you lose part of it or all
Yeah.
the interest you made.
Just curious. Yeah, I'd like to see us go forward with this for sure.
We have a 6-month or a 1-year option here. You see who the best bidder is here. I'm assuming you want to go with the best bidder.
I would say go with the 6 month, just for the fact it's higher than you can see where the interest rates are
Yeah.
at that time. So I know that's what we're doing right now with the police pension.
Okay.
With the one CD we got.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree with that.
Okay?
I'll go ahead and make that motion.
Where, I do have a question.
Sorry, Nick.
Yes, sir.
Where is our whole money at? Which bank?
The whole money?
Yeah, where's everything at? Which bank? are
We
dealing
have
with?
2 banks.
The majority of it is at First Trust.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're sharing.
Option.
amongst
Yes, the most of it's
Option
at
here.
First Trust.
When we did the one for the association, I went through and I grabbed them. They might match. First Trust might match the other ones to keep that there.
Well, our
They might.
treasurers were, she told them what the amount was, so.
Yeah.
Um,
Just wheel and deal. Not saying that they're going to, but
Yeah.
they might want to keep that. I mean, I know it's just a paper check going back and forth to each bank, but we might want to try where we have and say, well, you know,
But I think we have
that-
money at the Iroquois Federal too.
I was gonna say, the only thing I can say, Nick, is from my last time on the council, Iroquois Fed's been really good to Watsika too, so.
okay. And
I
there's
would
nothing
like to
against
see us-
them. It's just,
Yeah.
I don't.
Right. Personally,
try
I'd
and-
like to see us spread it out, to be honest
Yeah.
with you.
And
That's just
who
my
knows,
opinion.
Can we split that up into everybody that's in the city of Watsika and have different CDs?
I wouldn't wanna drop down to 3 point. I'd like to see us just.
To
dump
try
it
to
all.
see.
Money on the table.
Yeah, I'd just like to see us put 6 months in the Iroquois Fed and call it good.
Okay,
That's just me.
we have a motion?
I'll make that motion to go to Iroquois Federal for 6 months for the 4.38.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? Roll call?
Miller,
Aye.
Peterson,
Aye.
Rolfs,
Aye.
DeWitt,
Aye.
Bro,
Yes.
Mensch,
Aye.
Garfield,
Aye.
Mayor.
Aye.
Roll call carried.
If
Thank
I'm
you.
Correct on this, after 6 months, it should be an extra $21,000.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
It's amazing how just a little bit adds up.
Absolutely. Next up is donation request from 2 different,
Are we going back and
Can we
doing
go
the
back to the
treasurer's report?
and get
oh,
the-
I'm sorry, back to
Sorry.
treasurer's report.
This report.
Y'all have one?
I'll make a motion, we accept the treasurer's report.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
DeWitt,
Aye.
Mensch,
Aye.
Garfield,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Peterson,
aye.
Bro,
Aye.
Rolfs,
Aye.
Mayor.
Aye.
Roll call carried.
Okay, thanks for reminding me of treasurer's report. Donations, we have 2 requests. You have paperwork on Watsika Farmers Market.
I will explain that.
Okay.
So, farmer's market, we started about 5 years ago. Well, it's not part of the city, but it's, I run it, and then, city has been supporting it. We've been doing really good. And then we also have donations from the businesses, and they sponsor us. We're able to do different events for the kiddos. So it's been going really good. This year, we're gonna be starting from June 14th. That'll be our first one. And then we'll run it every Saturday at the silo lot as usual. But this year we're gonna do something different, is that we're gonna add into different festival in there. So since we're a farming community, I talked with a few people that, you know, they wanted to see a corn festival. So we can utilize the, you know, when the corn, end of July, when the corn start matures, and then we will be able to, at one of the market days, we'll offer free corns to the resident. And then, tomato festival, I don't know for sure yet, because it depends on the weather if we're gonna do it or not, but we're talking with different vendors. We might do some competition about it, like, you know, since we're like a farming community. And then we're also looking at to add a kids corner, so that the kiddos can take pictures, they can play around the corner there as well. And then the $2,000 donations, it's allocated into, it's $1,000 to rent the site for the whole season. And then the corn festival, I budget for $500, just, you know, because we're gonna sell corn and all that, and we're gonna have a little bit income from that. And then we have the food and drinks, and then kids corner, and then we'll have the music. The music, we're not gonna do it like every market day, because, you know, I don't want to do it every market day, but we're gonna definitely do it for the first market day and also the corn festival. And I do know some local musicians that they're able to do that. And then we're looking to add some equipment for the lot over there, because right now we're using Sonia's things. We don't have any seatings, and we don't have any like umbrellas. If they want to sit over there and, you know, take a drink or eat some food over there, they're not able to do that. So I'm adding something over there so that it can just stays there. Because I was actually talking with Lauren about, like, you know, we can move the city seatings, but I don't want to adding any more work for him to moving around. So I'm just gonna get something sits over there so that it stays there. And so that is my report. And I'm not gonna vote. I'm gonna leave you guys to vote it.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Comments?
If we approve this, is it too much to ask that after the season, you sort of come back with a summary of how it was used and
Yes.
how it helps, how it benefit the market?
Absolutely.
Have all of you been up to the farmer's market at one point?
Yes.
I think it's a nice event. It's well attended. It's in a good place. Very visual, and you do a great job running it.
I'll
So,
make the motion, we give the $2,000.
okay. Okay, have a motion and a second.
Now promotions, correct?
Out of promotions. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Mensch,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Bro,
Yes.
Rolfs. Oh, no, never mind. Sorry. Abstain. Peterson,
Abstain.
DeWitt,
Yes.
Garfield,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
roll call carried.
Okay, second request is the Knights of Columbus fireworks display. As you know, we've done it in the past for, I don't know, forever, I guess.
And then some.
Seems like a long time. And as we know, fireworks are not getting any cheaper. So the requests are always going up. So
What did the city give last year?
7,500 last year.
And that came out promotions?
Yeah.
You think 10,000 is good?
I know they have a hard time raising money every year.
Yeah, here's my thing, guys, and it's just because I love fireworks. My grandkids love them. They all come to town to see the fireworks. It fills the town with people,
Absolutely.
okay?
Yeah.
We just dropped 21 grand on videoing which
Yeah.
I would have been more than happy to do the middle one, but not the 21 grand. So if you dump 21 grand on that, I think we should give these guys like 12,000 or 13,000.
I was actually gonna agree with, say 12. Cause I'm at the jail on 4th of July. I was at jail 4th of July last year. There was every bit of 500 to 600 people around that jail, in that field, down the road, administration center.
There's
It's
a lot of people
Hell
coming
of a
to town.
draw to this city.
The streets, the road out there.
I'm gonna make
is
a
full.
motion. We'll do $14,000 due to the fact that we basically get that money back with them eating at whatever restaurant, filling up with fuel. We get that money back no matter what, in a sense, to put on a good show. They should be able to put on a pretty good show if we give them that much money, give them a starter with
Well,
that.
And they get money from the bank too, right, DL? Don't the banks kick in?
They
some?
send out letters to all the businesses and stuff, and they try to raise money.
But it's pretty
um,
difficult, isn't it?
Well, I think probably a lot of them gave what they gave last year and the year before and the year before that, and
That's why I say I
Yeah, they get
like I
hit
say,
up
I'm
every
biased.
year.
Like I have grandkids and they love it. And
so.
7.5 to 14 is a lot. 7.5 to 12 is sort of a.
I'll agree with Nick.
Okay.
With caveat comes our promotions.
I'm just saying, you got people from all over coming. And
It's a heck of a draw.
I don't disagree at all. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a heck of a draw for this town.
Yeah. All right. We have a motion and a second.
I second it.
Okay, roll call.
Mensch,
yes.
Bro,
yes,
Rolfs,
Aye.
Peterson,
Yes.
Miller,
Seeing as I'm a member of the organization, I'm going to abstain.
Okay.
DeWitt,
I didn't pay my dues, so no, I'm not a member. Yes.
He
Garfield,
didn't pay his dues.
Mayor,
Aye.
roll call carried.
I don't want to go to prison.
Because we are recording this, so.
I don't care.
Okay.
All right, next up is no transfers this month. We did several last month. Next up is the copiers that we talked about last month. We have updated information, and we have some options.
Excuse me.
And everybody sees we have two bids. We have two bids here. One is from DTI Office Solutions, and one is from Xerox. There was a representative here twice, I believe, yeah, from DTI, looked over our needs and evaluated what each department needed. And we have a breakdown of price to compare both companies.
What do we have right now, Kathy?
Right now, we have Xerox,
Xerox?
but right now they're ours. And Jeff suggested that we lease them,
Mm-hmm.
so these prices are for leasing.
How does this change your guys' functioning? I mean, we've talked about that a little bit,
Yeah.
but what does this do for you?
So when Erica from DTI came, she suggested that the police department keep their two copiers, one in the squad room, one in Kendra's office,
Okay.
and I keep the main copier in my office. But on my end, she also put in her bid a new printer for the mayor's office and a new printer for the code enforcement office. Mayor's office said he doesn't use
I
his a
don't-
whole lot. I don't know
The
if
one I
that's.
got will be fine.
Yeah, and code enforcement, he just got a new printer. There is nothing wrong with his
Yeah.
current one.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
can't
know
see
that-
the need, neither one of those, a
Yeah.
need for those.
And in my office, she's got two extra ones. The two printers that I have in my office are maybe a year old. There is really nothing wrong with them. I don't know at this point that they need to be replaced. I mean, they work fine. But our copiers are, I've noticed that when I make copies, they're getting lighter and lighter and lighter, so.
What I've shared with Kathy too, just in my own experience, that going from You have an office with multiple printers and copiers. You can really consolidate down to just one who can do scan, print, copy, color. You can give permissions. All of us sitting here could print all day long to mailboxes with nothing coming out until you actually go and hit print. There's so much more you can do. My thought was on leasing because of the fact that I feel like there's so many moving parts, excess, whatever that goes on. If anything happens, they can come and fix. Experience-wise, worked with DTI many times. They are phenomenal. Tony is absolutely outstanding. His customer service. One concern Kathy and I share the same concern is a lot of times you have a company, their sales reps are wonderful, but their follow-through isn't so great. I can't speak well enough for DTI and Tony. His customer service is amazing.
Yeah.
He will drop and come right to you. So
And all the parts, the toner, the labor, and any maintenance, that's all included in that price. So that's per month. And then there's a service contract of an additional $35 a month in addition to the price that's up there at the top.
So these prices are per month, right?
Yes.
All these prices are per
Yes.
month.
Do you think you would go over the 2,000 pages per month, Kathy?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So,
We kill a lot of trees.
there's 500 pages right here on the table
I'm
today.
gonna say,
I'm just looking
does
at
that
the
in a
boatload
week.
right here. 9 cents a page.
She does
Yeah,
that
but
in a
that's
week.
cheap.
yeah,
That's cheap.
Right here.
If
Yeah.
you look at the other one, it's 11.0155 compared to .009. If you look at the Xerox
Yeah.
one, yeah.
I just wonder if.
I mean, we go over now with what I have in there.
I
Do you
just
use the
wonder if they had a
finisher?
better package for that.
Do you use the finishing, the staple option
Oh, yeah.
too?
Oh, yeah. I'd be lost without that.
But the 4054 doesn't have the staple option? Or is it just left
She
off?
doesn't, she didn't want it. That's in Kinder's office.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Got it. These are the two. I'm sorry.
Yep.
I was comparing the two together.
Yep. Nope.
Got it.
Okay. Looks like, what I'm seeing, the DTI is,
Better option.
lower cost and the best option. But okay, any more comments or questions? Any motions?
Do you have a preference, Kathy? Since you're the one using this every day?
Personally, I'd go with DTI, and I can't believe I'm saying that because I don't know those people. but that sales lady was awesome. I mean, she wasn't pushy. She said, "Oh, well, you don't need that, and you don't need this, and this is what you need, and I really think this is going to work for you." And then she came back up here to show me her proposal. I mean, she was awesome.
Their follow through will be the same, I promise
Yeah,
you.
Yeah.
100%.
I suggest DTI.
Okay, thank you.
Did she say turnaround time if we accepted it?
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yep.
if
I'm
it
gonna
makes you
make
happy, it makes me happy.
Yeah, I mean, I was.
I'm going to make the proposal, we accept the bid from DTI.
I'll second it.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Roll
Uh,
call?
Garfield,
Yes.
DeWitt,
Yes,
Mensch,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Rolfs,
Yes.
Bro,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
Roll call carried.
And thanks, Jeff, for your
Expertise.
yeah, thank you for your insight.
insight
Suggestion.
and your help, that we ended up doing
Hopefully
doing
you're-
something better for the city.
Hopefully you're as happy as I am.
It's,
I think you will be.
it's lower cost and many more features, better service. The last item, I kind of brought this up, ordinance number 2707. Yeah, where is it?
I only have 2746.
Yeah.
Me too.
I got it. The reason I'm bringing this up,
Oh, got it.
It's
Gotcha.
it's stapled on this one.
Stapled on the
Oh.
other one.
back on,
The water thing.
back in February of 24, let me see this, confirm this. Yeah. February of 24, at that time, the council decided to propose an ordinance and was passed to include the cost of living increases on the water and sewer rates. And that's, Kathy typed up this page here to break down exactly what that meant and what the change would be. I brought it up because I would like to put, for the next 12 months, not enforce this ordinance for 12 months. In other words, not increase the 2.5%, which is what's proposed
So
in
you'd like
this
to
ordinance.
freeze it.
I'd like to do a 12-month freeze and see where we're at with our water and sewer funding as far as what we're capable of doing. I don't want to completely get rid of the ordinance because I want to see where we're at in 12 months.
Good idea.
So
Do that without having to amend the ordinance.
this would have to be, he has already amended it. Actually, our attorney has rewritten this contract for this next 12 months to be the same rate as we have now. So Jill wrote the new ordinance up.
Okay.
Has been amended basically to
All right.
make this next 12 months to be the same rate.
So 2707 keeps the water bills the same.
Yes.
No,
Make a motion, we accept.
no, there'll be a new ordinance.
It'd be a new ordinance, but
Yeah,
the rates will be the
rates stay
same.
the same.
Yes.
Correct.
The number will probably be
We're
different, though.
freezing
Yeah.
the rates as is. We're just waiting on the amended ordinance.
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
I would love to see us keep the water bills the way they are.
That was my intent,
Yeah.
Charlie, is to try to keep things the way they are.
So is that your motion, Charlie?
Sure. Yes, indeed.
I'll second it.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Would that have what would be the implications of doing so for this budget for the year?
We're okay where we're at.
Okay.
As far as our water and sewer.
Okay.
And I am going to make a comment here about why we're able to do this. And I'm going to say something about Lauren here. Sorry, Lauren. Over the last 3 years, we have bought a lot of pieces of equipment for Public Works. We have brought on some new employees. Lauren has brought all these people and this equipment up to speed, so we're able to save a lot. Lauren has basically saved us hundreds of thousands of dollars in the last 3 years.
I believe that.
But we did take some grief in the beginning of buying all this brand new fancy equipment in Public Works. But this is why. We're saving the money for the city because of that. So that's why I want to take this next 12 months, see how we're going along with things. And I hope that it continues that way. I want to keep the rates like they are. So I commend Lauren for getting us to this point.
Thank you, Lauren.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Peterson,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
DeWitt,
Yes.
Mensch,
Yes.
Garfield,
Yes.
Rolfs,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. Thank you.
And thank you, Benny.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lauren.
All right, any other inquiries for finance, legal, and audit?
Mayor? This thing about Mary,
Yes.
about the roof.
Yes.
I'd
I put that in your box so you would see
Okay,
that
I'll
quote
talk
from.
to you later about
Yeah,
it.
that's just for you.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to make sure
All
that
right,
you
thank you.
saw her quote.
I do have, if you don't mind, I want to come back to the fireworks real quick.
Sure.
Years gone by, at the fireworks, we used to have, I'm going to show my age here, it's been many, many years ago, about 15, 20, when we first started doing the fireworks down at the courthouse. We used to have vendors down there. Back then it was Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, church groups. We used to shut off 10th Street. I would love to see some groups get a hold of, I don't know who they get, city maybe, asking if they could set up down there this year. I would like to know if
If who could set up?
vendors, food vendors, anybody. that
Like
would
food trucks
food
or?
trucks, anything that'd like to set maybe on 10th Street this year during the fireworks.
Mark, I think we should talk to the Legion because they're putting on an event during the day
Yeah, I
after the
think so.
parade.
Yeah.
So they may be able to transition food trucks from there over
Yeah,
to
'cause I'm
10th Street.
thinking at night during the fireworks time,
Yeah.
when you're gonna have those 400 to 600 people down there, you got a captive audience.
Yes.
You know, they're gonna have to walk in, they're gonna have to walk out. You know,
Yeah.
years past, we used to have the Dairy Queen, that place was packed. You know, McDonald's is gonna be packed, Casey's gonna be swamped, all the restaurants are gonna be swamped. Be nice to have something right there, you know. I will reach out to the Legion, I'll even reach out to the festival. Well,
I have I've been working with the gentleman putting that on at the
Okay.
Legion, so I can get you a contact if you
yeah,
want.
well, let's talk later.
Okay.
I love that idea and
Right, you
vision.
got a lot of people at the high school also.
Yeah.
Yep.
If they could
Yeah.
split up between the two of them or something like that.
Yeah, well, high school, then. you
Maybe
know, you always
FFA could have
out
something.
at Walmart, and
Yeah.
there's many locations where they're at, that just besides the courthouse.
Great idea.
As much as I love that idea and vision, I also would go back to, like Nick said earlier, one of the things of us pushing this much money from the city into promoting it was we know we're bringing people in here to eat and do it. And I hate to take away from our local establishments because an outside one is coming
I
in too.
don't
So
think
just
that's
something to
gonna affect that much.
Okay.
Because the ones coming in to eat at the restaurants,
Mm-hmm.
most likely are gonna eat coming in. Because when the fireworks are done, you're talking
True.
9:30 at
9:30,
night.
right?
And most of your, like, tables already closed.
Yeah.
Your fast food and Casey's are gonna be in, Taco Bell and Steak and Shake. It's gonna be your fast food places.
You would think there'd be some vendors that would want to sell like glow sticks, and I know we go to the Roma Park
Yeah.
Boat Club, and they have vendors that set up and sell like little spinny things, and
I know that at the Faith Lutheran Church, they always have something set up there. Hot dogs and popcorn and glow sticks and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I think
Something
it's
to
the
sell.
church members or something.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm almost thinking that they pass a lot of that stuff out free. But I'm
No.
not certain on that.
The auxiliary police, we used to sell the glow sticks and the glow necklaces at the courthouse, and that was one of our main fundraisers for the years. But we haven't done that, well, I don't know if they still do, but I haven't done that the last several years we were on, just due to the fact we were doing traffic control.
Yeah, that's great.
Great idea.
yeah, I mean with the Legion having their event, it'd be nice to captivate the town day and night, and
So you're gonna work with Lauren, on,
Yeah.
Make
I'll
sure
keep-
you're
me and
okay with
Lauren will
everything?
Keep in touch.
okay. All right, any other inquiries?
The only thing I could say is, on behalf of the Knights of Columbus, I thank everybody. And remind you that there is a pancake sausage breakfast that morning at the Catholic Church in the basement. Everybody's welcome. Usually it's a free will donation. I don't know how they've got it actually planned this year, so, but
Okay,
should be food available from morning to night, it sounds like.
should be.
And yeah, I had posed a couple questions that I was going to either propose at our full council, or do you feel like those questions now at the legal at this meeting would be about processes? I don't know what's you know the ones I'm talking about.
You mean the meeting
Procedural, different things,
procedural,
right. Should we
procedural
wait for
things?
full or now?
I think it's gonna be more legal.
So this meeting,
No, that would be when the attorney's
when the
here.
attorney's here.
Yeah, so let's talk
Wait till
about
next
that one, next
Okay.
meeting.
Just simple for, and nothing high, just how this process works, the voting instead of all in favor versus going through, just some different procedural things of Robert's rules. I had questions that Joe had answered and wanted to share with all of you, but I'll share that at the full council meeting.
Jeff had some procedural improvements, let's put it that way.
Questions in my mind.
That maybe that things could proceed better.
Makes
the
them
way
more
we're doing it.
efficient and
More
quicker.
efficient, quicker. So, all right, if there's nothing else, motion to adjourn.
I got one thing.
Oh, yeah,
So June 8th is a donation, free will donation, or minimal $5 donation at the fire station for a breakfast. I'm just putting that out there. That's in a month. It's a Sunday. It's 6:30 to 10 a.m., I believe. So just wanted to throw that out there to you guys.
very good.
I think these are things that we really need to start marketing, and
And promoting.
Yeah, promote through our Facebook, our website, you know.
Right.
Involved with the.
Our website,
Thing
our
I'm hearing is there's
Facebook page.
a ton
yeah.
of different events coming up that we
Right.
really should be promoting.
Yeah, and we just have not been in the past.
Nick, is that Station 1?
That is correct. That it would be Station 1. It's basically, like I said, they're going to be right at the station like we did our pork burger dinner. Come sit down, talk to everybody. There'll be people there to talk to, and the trucks will be out to look at.
Okay, 6:38 a.m. to
Yes.
10.
All right, anything else? Motion to adjourn?
I.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Thank you. Public Works done.
Okay, Public Works. You want to do Public Works first? Is that correct, or waste? Or all together?
We'll just do
All
it
together.
all together.
Okay. I call the meeting to order. And Kathy, you want to do roll call for us?
Miller,
Aye.
DeWitt,
Yes.
Mensch,
Here.
Garfield,
Present.
Bro,
Yes.
Rolfs,
Here.
Pence, Peterson,
Here.
Mayor,
Here.
8 present, 1 absent.
Okay, seeing as I don't see any public here, I guess we're not going to have any public comments. So we'll move on to Lauren.
Good evening, council. Few updates here. Our test well, unfortunately, no response from the IEPA within the last month. We responded to some questions and been stagnant. Hopefully we get something here soon. It'd be nice to get that well drilled before the end of the year. Try to keep that moving along, but unfortunately we're at the IEPA's mercy, so I'll keep you posted on that if there's any changes. The land obviously was purchased. We're going to clear that here this summer, remove all the trees that are dead, and I've talked to some neighbors. They're excited to see those trees go, so you'll see some clearing over there just to make some improvements. On the distribution side, no real movements on the radio reads just because we've been tied up with the lead service lines and other things. Valve exercising will take place again in the fall with hydrant flushing. Lead service lines, one of the two we discovered actually was abandoned lead service line. The B box had been left in place, and we discovered the new one when the new line was installed was removed by Metro Communication when they hit it with their communication conduit. So we still have one service. The other two that we were under the assumption were lead and meter pits. We excavated those, discovered they are copper. Unfortunately, working in meter pits, it's a little harder to get down to without removing the box. So we only have one lead service line that we're 100% on 4th Street. Still working with that. We have to send an update. The EPA now has added an inventory on schools, daycares. They're really digging in lead service lines and what we have going on in the community. So that's going to be an ongoing process for probably a couple more years. So I think we've got about 135 B boxes excavated. We'll probably end up doubling or tripling that number before we can comfortably say we have no more lead service lines.
Is there a deadline for that, do you know?
They have an update yearly. They haven't got to the point where we have a hard deadline where we have to be 100% known.
Okay,
But it's coming.
okay.
So, water main extension on Elm Street. It's just keeping that up there as far as the low interest loan that's available. I think we are going through round, 4 or 5 on that. We won't know until next year on any debt forgiveness. So I'm just keeping that on my list just as a reminder to keep looking into that grant. North Street water main extension, still dependent on the test well over there. We had 2 water main breaks, one on North Chicago and one on North Virginia within the last month. The source water protection plan was approved through the IEPA recently, so that is done and off our checklist. I think that was a 2019 requirement that wasn't done, so we've got that updated. Water main projects, I have a meeting Thursday with Jock Braden, still working through right-of-way agreements, hoping to get these signed off and moving along. Unfortunately, nothing has been purchased. We aren't doing anything until we have all our right-of-ways. There's some language that he doesn't like, so we're working through that. Wastewater treatment plant, we did get a response from our NPDS permit renewal. I've spoke about this probably the last year and a half on the phosphorus removal. I was hoping to see a 1.0 milligram or parts per million limit. They actually came back with a 0.5, so half of what I was expecting. Not completely unexpected, but I was hoping they were going to be a little bit easier on us. We have until 2030 to be in compliance with this. So I don't want to drag my feet. I want to make this a yearly process for the next 3 years, so I can break this up a little bit so it's not all in one shot and we're not doing this in 4 years trying to meet requirements and a 12-month deadline. So I've already got, we've reached out to Evoqua for a smart biological phosphorus removal system. The estimate for just that system was $75,000, not installed. I had Peerless Midwest come out and give me some quotes on VFDs, variable frequency drives that are needed for this system. That quote was $130,000. And then another $28,000 to install the smart BPR system. So I mean, right off the bat, you're looking at about $200,000 to put in this biological phosphorus removal system. What it does is it installs probes in the oxidation ditch, monitors dissolved oxygen levels within the treatment plant. It changes the speed of your rotors, which is going to increase or decrease your DOs, creating an anaerobic system within the plant. It just promotes removal biologically. Unfortunately, the IEPA still requires a chemical removal system as a redundant system within the plant, so we still would have to install chemical pumps, chemical tanks, injection points, which we have a really good spot already. We have a splitter box before our clarifiers, which will work out perfect for chemical treatment. That would, just shooting off my hip, we're probably looking at about $25,000 for chemical pumps and tanks there and scales. And that's if we install ourselves, which I think we can. It's just a matter of running conduits and some electrical. I would repurpose the one room within the treatment plant for a chemical room. So, like I said, we have several phases to meet this permit requirement. Phase 1, you're looking at the VFDs at about $130,000. I've reached out to a couple other vendors trying to get prices from them as well. And then step 2 would be the smart BPR system, which you're at another $100,000 for the equipment and installation there. And then step 3 would be blowers and some modifications to our digester to help with our digestion of sludge. I don't have any prices on that, but those blowers, Kaiser blowers, probably about $75,000 each, and you need 2 of them, and then an air system, which would be all stainless to PVC, diffusers down in the tank. You're probably talking $150,000, $200,000 to modify that digester. So again, I want to break this up to where we're not spending $500,000 in 1 year. If we phase this in a 3-year period, I don't think it'll really affect our budget all that much.
Okay.
So I'm trying to get some hard numbers on the VFDs. I'd like to get those done this year. Next year, move on to smart BPR, and then move on to the diffuser or the blowers. It's either going to be next year. I really got to think about how I want to do that. It's either going to be next year blowers and digester modifications to handle the sludge, or the BPR system. But either way, I think in the next 3 years we can phase this and start meeting our permit requirement within year 2030. 5 years sounds like a long time, but it goes by fast.
Yeah, I mean,
Sure does.
I don't think I understood half of what you tried to explain to me right now. But I'll tell you, I
I
know
did.
you,
You
Tour
say,
helped a lot. Thank you very much again.
and I
I went down
trust,
for a tour, and
it's a good idea.
it's really knowledgeable to go down there with
Really
him.
should go to the
And I
water.
trust you in what you're
Yeah.
doing and,
Yeah.
and getting us up to code. So, but spreading out over the 5 years to see those numbers, to me, would be appreciated.
yeah.
Yeah, if you get a chance, it's really interesting, and
Okay.
Yeah,
it
and
smells really good too.
yeah, to any council member, whenever, if and when you want to take a tour of any of the treatment plants,
Okay.
any of the facilities, give me a call. We'll schedule a date and time that works for everybody, or
Maybe we should
each of us,
schedule our,
and
maybe we should schedule our next Public Works meeting,
we could do a meeting
Works
down
plant.
there.
building.
Yeah, I mean,
I
we
went there, it was
Probably not a bad idea.
awesome.
That way they can see the equipment that's there besides the wastewater treatment plant.
Extremely interesting.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I would be up for that, and might give everybody a different view of things other than the chambers room. But so yeah, I just wanted to update everybody that we are getting some response on this from the EPA. We've given one response. We're probably going to send another response within the next week on how we're going to move forward, because we have another option to be in compliance within 2035, but then you're adding nitrogen removal as well. But there's no limit, there's no numbers, there's no target. I don't want to commit to that, because you don't want to spend a bunch of money on nitrogen removal and then find out that what you just did wasn't nearly enough and you're redoing that. So I think we would stick with the number that we know in 2030 date. That being said, expect nitrogen removal to hit our permit in probably 2035, and we'd have to meet it in 2040. So the EPA is constantly adding more removals to the system, so it's just
Moving
never ending.
the goalpost.
But we do have we have a great foundation at that treatment plant. Like I told Charlie, what we have now is what they're building today. So in '98, when they built that treatment plant, it was a smart move to invest the money then, because we're not building a new treatment plant to meet these requirements. We're able to just add some probes, some variable frequency drives, make some modifications to the existing plant versus an entire new plant. So very, very fortunate for that. Still working on these gates, waiting for an order confirmation. That was going to be used with the 86 fund. Let's see, next here is the sanitary storm sewers, Locust Street project. Complete, we're just waiting for the asphalt patching on the west, West Locust. Yeah, West Locust. 3rd Street's the divider, so you learn something new every day. And just for curiosity's sake, people probably saw us working on Walnut. The resident there was having issues. They paid for the city to put in a new tap to get their sewer reinstated. Just so everybody's aware of what was taking place there on Main Street, and IDOT was aware of it and gave us approval for that work. Concrete was restored yesterday. Asphalt will be restored as soon as asphalt's available. Unfortunately, IPC hasn't been doing surface mix, so we're just waiting for asphalt. GIS mapping, still collecting data whenever we can. Keith and I are working on adding another layer to our map to track all our road work and road conditions. So this way, every year as we do road improvements, we can add it to our electronic mapping. That data is stored for the rest of our lives. We can go back through history, have something you can pull up and say in 2024, this is what we did. And then you can track the life expectancies and kind of help with some of our budgeting to be able to say and identify how long our roads are lasting. So just a little bit of historical preservation there for everyone. And Keith's going to go back about 15 years, or as far back as he can go, to try to get as much information on road work that's been completed to put in the GIS system.
Now, is that for the full road, like whenever we redo it, or is it
So
like
we're
if we
gonna
cut a
we're gonna be able
section
to
out?
we can do whatever we will. If we're doing a block or the full road or patching, crack sealing, we can
Okay.
we can put that information in there to be able to, if you want to look at roads that were just crack sealed, you'll be able to, click on that tab and highlight just those roads and be able to see when those are done. So, just trying to get away from the paper. We have so many rolled up paper maps that are almost useless at this point in life. Trying to find that kind of stuff. We just have to continue to move forward in the 21st century. So, park grants, the Osley grant that was signed and acknowledged last month. So the design, Keith and I have been starting on some of that. Still working through band shells as far as trying to get some options for the council. I'd like to possibly get some in front of you guys next week just to get your feedback on what you would like to see go in over there for a band shell. And then just trying to get things laid out. And then I think some of the comments during that park grant conversations with the public were bathrooms out there. So I want to look at the cost of what it would take to add bathrooms out there and get that in front of the council to see if it's worth doing now. Is it, obviously during the large construction, it's cheaper to do those add-ons then versus coming in, making modifications and tearing things apart. Not something we have to do, but I want to get that in front of people.
But at least we'll have sewer and water over there.
We'll have sewer and water over there. So it's not something we have to do now, but I think we should look at the cost of it now to see if it's worth, moving forward now, or just table it and know that we can later in life.
I have some pavilion pictures on my desk if anybody wants to see them sometime when they're here at City Hall.
I figure next week I'd try to get things printed out for everybody, so that way we can kind of go through and maybe number them with options and see what the council would like to see overall. I don't know if it's something we really want to put out to the public, have people vote on. I think you get too many opinions, unfortunately, and hard to make a decision at some point. So, I put it under parks, but the banners and flags were put up on the street lights. We did lower them down, so you've seen in the POs, we spent some money on new stainless bands and clips, but that was a big complaint last year. The banners and everything were up too high,
Yeah.
so we lowered them. Got good feedback on that. So pond pumps were installed last month. The ponds were treated for weed control. I haven't seen a whole lot of growth over there, but we're keeping an eye on that. That's obviously a big complaint when people go do some fishing in our ponds. Anything you want to add on the Osley grant or Keith? No. Streets. So we've had some back and forth emailing on the MFT project from last year, the heat and recycle. We're being told June 2nd they'll be back out, weather pending, to do the second fog coat. So they gotta broom the streets, get the loose gravel off again, and then they'll apply a second fog coat. So we've been hard on them. I know I have been trying to push them to get out. They were supposed to be out early May. They've pushed that out to June. I told them we'll be looking at other options if they're not out here in June. So if
No
we
new
have to,
gravel on top, right?
huh?
No new
No.
gravel.
No
on
new
top.
gravel. So they'll be removing anything loose by brooming, sweeping, and then they'll apply that second fog coat.
Thank you.
Martin Avenue Extension, the sidewalks were started this week. We got a majority of the south side done. Unfortunately, the weather broke up on us. Realistically, it'll probably take them about a week to get all the sidewalk in. Then they'll be moving on to the curb, and then the binder layer on the street side. And then I'm assuming they'll want to mill the rest of Martin Avenue before they do the surface, so they can put the surface in all at one time. So realistically, middle of June, we should see a road out there on Martin Avenue.
Do we need to do any underground work on Martin Avenue to look at that before we put anything down? Like, I think there's a storm sewer running
So
through there.
we found a 12-inch drain tile. I think it was last month. It was broke down. It was an old field tile running all the way up to the culvert in front of the courthouse. So we spent additional funds to go ahead and remove that and put a solid sewer pipe in, so we don't have to worry about a 100-year-old tile collapsing under a brand new road. So
Talking about the part of the addition that's been built for 20 years.
Yeah.
as far as the existing road,
The existing road.
I haven't seen any sinkholes, suckholes, or
Okay.
any issues like
I
that.
don't know if we
It's
needed
just
to check
road
that before we
deterioration,
resurface or not.
Yeah, water and sanitary are on the north side of the road. I believe the storm sewer's south of it, so if they did have an issue, there's some laterals crossing,
Okay.
not the
There's
water
nothing
main's
in
not
the
under the
road.
road, for example, in the
Okay.
sewer.
Belmont Avenue, where the sewer is located there,
The sewer on Belmont is with
from the high
water's on
school
the
going south.
Water's on the east
east,
side,
so it's got to be
sanitary's on the west, I believe.
it's right in the curb line on the west side, because I did a tap there a couple of years ago for Pinkston, so it's on the.
Because I know decade ago, working on a couple of houses there on the east side of the road, their tile from their house out to the street was all Orangeburg. And it was all collapsing, and they replaced their part. I didn't know how far it went after that.
Well, yeah, the sewer main's on the west side. Typically, we don't look at sewer laterals and service lines when we're going through doing road work. I don't know if it's something we really want to or should be doing, but it's definitely food for thought.
Yeah, there was a couple of them I know they replaced. They'd been in there for 30, 40 years, and that old Orangeburg was collapsing.
I know there's the fear of having to tear up a road to replace a lateral, but you can bore in a sewer lateral with a good boring company to get the elevations right. So I mean, there's options to replace
Okay.
those type of things.
Just thought I'd mention it.
The technology's come a long way. They can actually replace laterals from the main now, so there's a lot they can do without open cutting.
They actually line sewer laterals from within the sewer main as well. They have some pretty slick technology out there, but again, it depends on the condition. So the roads that the mayor talked about earlier there, Martin Avenue and Belmont, we have a pre-con meeting Thursday to start going over that road work. Same with the water main over there on Belmont. Street sweeper will be out to run the full route before the end of the month yet. We haven't had time to run it. This month we purchased 16 tons of asphalt. We did quite a bit of patching from all the water main breaks this winter. And then next item here on the streets. So Keith and I have been looking at different streets, and I provided Keith's estimates for Oak and Cherry Street. I think Cherry Street's been a hot topic the last year, so we definitely weren't going to ignore it. But it's in bad, I mean, it's in bad condition, the pavement itself, but the curbs and the aprons are in fairly good shape. So if you look at the cost estimate, it's not nearly as bad as we were originally anticipating. And Keith and I have been talking, there's some possibilities of reducing this cost by bringing some of the sidewalk work in-house and having Public Works to take care of. So we may be able to cut $20,000 or $30,000 off each one of these projects by bringing some of the work back under Public Works.
Cherry Street, complete, right?
So Cherry Street is from 5th
5th to 8th.
to 8th, yep. And same with
Same with
Oak
Oak.
Street.
5th to 8th.
And then what about that side street, Short Street? Did you guys look at that one?
So Short Street, it didn't look that bad to me.
Okay.
But we can look at what it would take to include that in over there. I mean, obviously it's a short street. They named it Short Street, so.
I don't think anybody hardly uses it, but.
Yeah.
wouldn't
You know,
make it.
the quantities are small enough.
Yeah.
In mobilization, you don't have any mobilization because you're already working there, so it may be worth taking a look at. I mean,
Okay.
it almost looks like a tar and chip road.
That's what it looks like to me.
But I mean, the condition didn't look like it was completely deteriorated, but it looked like an old tar and chip road kind of, so we can look at what that would take to add on.
Do you rebuild that one, put curb and gutter on it, or said, do we rebuild that one and put curb and gutter on it?
Short Street,
Yeah, we did 7th Street a few years ago. It was the same issue, but it was in much worse shape.
so you're adding, you know, that would probably double the cost. I mean, we're paying quite a bit for any concrete work down here. But we can look at those quantities, get a better idea on what it'd take to add Short Street to this. So the idea behind this is, you know, we have engineering estimates. Each one of them is right around 28,000 on engineering side. We're only receiving about $200,000 annually for MFT funds. So that, you know, falls short of even doing one street. This year is a rebuild on our MFT, so we're not using any MFT funds this year. So next year we'll have about 400,000 available. So the council, you know, you guys have some decisions on how much road work you want to do, how do you want to fund this. You know, we're obviously seeking some other grants and some other funding. Illinois is opening up some funding, and I'll let Keith talk about that here in a minute, but this would give us engineering on 2 roads that need to be taken care of. Whether we do one next year and one year after, depending on funding. I think we need to move forward with engineering so it's shovel ready. So if there is if there's a grant available, we can apply. We already have a shovel ready project. And or if this other funding opens up, we're going to submit some streets to this other funds. We already have projects ready to go and we can move forward. The dream is to have a 5-year plan saying we're going to do this street this year, this street next year. But obviously as funds open up, you may be able to do both these streets next year. And then that opens up moving the schedule forward. So we have our work schedule for this year. We need to start designing, have things shovel ready, whether we get funds available or we use just our MFT. This way, come January 1st, we can get this out to bid and have a project ready to go next summer. So we're getting good pricing. Again, you know, we have a lot of new faces up here. I've been stating this since day one I started here. We need to bid in the winter to get better pricing. So we need to plan ahead, design ahead, have things ready to go. So January 1st, we're going out to bid. If you wait till spring to go out to bid, all your contractors, their work is tight. You know, they've got everything scheduled. If they add on any work, you're going to pay top dollar to get it done.
Yep.
And unfortunately, our bidding and our construction has been very backward since I've started. I think before that even, you see a lot of work being done in the fall. That's because we're bidding in the spring. We're at the back burners of our contractors. We're getting high prices. So this is just trying to stay ahead of it. So I would like to get these on the agenda for next week to get engineering on these 2 roads so they're ready to go. Whether it's MFT funded next year or other funds available, we're at least ready for bids, you know, come first of the year.
Okay.
What's held you from that process that you prefer to? Have we-
Well, funding, when I came on, I think we had 14 roads already in I think the city borrowed money late in the year. It was a whirlwind when I first started. I know I ended up bringing up liquidated damages because they'd milled a bunch of our roads that fall, and then we're going to push out to paving in the spring, and I kind of pumped the brakes on that. So we can't have gravel roads all winter long, and brought up liquidated damages in our contract. Magically, we were able to get the roads paved that fall. It's not ideal, you know, to pave that late in the year. Temperatures start dropping. I think the quality of the work drops as well. I don't know why we really haven't been able to correct our bid cycle. This year we did.
Okay.
So last fall, we talked with Robinson. We got on a better page. We went out to bid first of the year. So, you know, here we were going to be doing our road work in June versus November. So we've corrected that this year. I just want you guys to be aware that we need to stay ahead of our projects, have it designed, ready to go the year prior. So
you need our approval to go ahead with the design.
So I want to get these on next week's agenda for the engineering approval, so Keith Robinson can start on that. And then I'll let Keith talk about this funds that may possibly open up for us, that we may be looking at a couple more streets this year as well.
So
Yeah.
does he need a motion? Because I'll make the motion to do that.
I will second that.
It's not on the agenda, so
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right, Kathy?
I'll put it on the
It's-
agenda,
Yeah,
whatever.
I'll put it on the
Let's get this
agenda for
done.
next week. This
Next
was
week.
just
Okay.
last minute. We're just trying to get in front of you, so sorry.
Yeah, so our state has come up with about $400 million for highway projects. Now, that sounds like a lot of money, but it's spread out between municipalities, counties, townships, road commissions, transit authorities, even some rail things. It's for road projects, bike projects, a whole gambit of projects. So it's a lot of money, but there's going to be a lot of people vying for that money. So they only have given a couple of weeks to get these applications in. Thankfully, they're not terribly complex. The thought is we'll get at least Oak and Cherry in, and both of those in there. Now, you can pay for engineering and construction with this money, but if you have your design ahead of time completed, then you score more points on this as far as this grant goes. So the potential is maybe we get both streets funded with it. You know, they're looking at projects from 100,000 to 10 million. So they're gearing for the small towns as well as your Chicagos or larger communities. So the thought is if we can get a couple of streets in, if we get 1 or 2, then that can push this 5-year plan ahead a little bit.
Well, then if we can get these approved through that and funded, then that gives us about 400,000 next year in MFT funding. So we could either bank that and continue to, the following year know that we'd have $600,000 to do large road improvements, or we can add to this, but, one step at a time, get these shovel ready so we can apply for this grant. If we don't receive it, then we know we have funding in MFT to at least do one of these roads next year, and then bank the remainder of that money for the following year, which would then give you $300,000 for the following year to do the second road. So hopefully we get more funding through the state of Illinois. Worst case, we have MFT lined up the next 2 years to get these roads completed for the most part. So
So either
Keith, is
way,
that
we're-
roads only?
for them, yeah, either way, we're able to do these 2 roads in the next 2 years. So,
So
we at
next
least,
2 years, Cherry and Oak will be
Yeah.
done.
yep.
Okay.
It could be used for multi-use paths or trails, there's others types of projects it could be used for as
I was
well.
still thinking the water main on Elm Street from the school coming this direction.
This is
This
this is
road.
quite unusual in that this one's actually transportation related.
Okay.
A lot of most grants that we apply for, like this EPA loan, for example, that we've talked about, the only road repair you can do is the road repair needed for the damage because of your water main going in or your sanitary or storm sewer going in. You can't tear out half of your road with the utility line and pave your whole street with these EPA funds. So a lot of the grants are restricted on what they can be used. This IDOT one is unusual in that it's specifically for transportation and infrastructure like that. It's not for utility work, so.
So hopefully they don't look at just the Chicago land with this
Mhm.
$400 million. Let's hope that they share that funding south, yeah.
Well, and that's why the information that IDOT provided, I'm gonna leave this with Lauren, but, they talk at 100,000, they don't want a $50,000 project coming in with one block that you're just doing a little bit of work on. But the 100,000 it goes a lot longer for a town like this than it does for Chicago, where the costs of construction are even more.
Now, would it
But
benefit us?
the good part
any?
is these roads we can fund ourselves if we don't get approval. So the engineering doesn't go bad. I mean, we're gonna do these roads one way or the other, so
Right.
it's just, it's
Yep.
nice to have them shovel ready.
Would it benefit us any if we had other roads with this? For say, like 3 other roads with that, just to
I
kind
mean,
of, not saying we're gonna,
the sky's the
Shovel
limit
ready.
on what you apply for. It's how much effort you want to put into applying for a grant or any kind of funding. I think this is more realistic approval approach versus asking for $5 million and then they just move on to more realistic applications.
so
I
it's
just
one application
Y-
per
you-
the grant. It's
No,
not
you can,
each street.
you can
No.
do them all separately. The thing is, like, I'll look at Short Street. We have that meeting on Thursday. We have a couple meetings on Thursday. I'm gonna come down early. I'll look at Short Street and try to figure out some quantities for it. You wanna at least have some idea of what it's going to cost, because if you ask for $100,000 and it turns out to be $150,000 for Short Street, I'm just throwing numbers out. That grant is not gonna increase to the $150. So
Okay.
you wanna, when you submit these, you wanna have an idea of what your cost is going to be before you do it, because you don't get more later if you come in.
and we have no idea if we're asking for too much or we're not asking for enough. It's funding is funding. There's really no roadmap. They just give you a minimum $100,000 project and a max. I don't know if it's worth asking for 10 streets or not. I was looking at a realistic number from the state, in a small town. I think they look at your community, the sizes, there's a lot that goes into funding. Yeah, and we'll see what it'd take to add Short Street in on this and possibly just apply for that as well.
Okay. Okay.
Any other streets that are in like a big concern to the public that's really Mulberry
From the tracks all the way around
to the west?
to the west, yep.
So
And
I know the curve was in part of that big project that we were trying to take on when I first started, and that portion was removed because we ran out of funds. So I didn't put this in here, but I'm looking at pricing on a small grinder for a skid loader for grinding out pavement versus cutting and removal. Whether it be a 2-foot or a 4-foot milling machine for the front of our skid loader. I think we'd be able to do a lot of larger patches. Like in that area, I know you're talking about the curves in bad shape.
Yep.
So if you were able to go in and mill 20 or 30 feet, that's something that Public Works can go in and do some patching versus excavating, tearing the asphalt out, and completely redoing. So just some other equipment that's been in the back of my mind that will offset cost in the future. I mean, bringing in big milling machines and pavers, you know, that's the cost is astronomical. So I'm just, you know, like forestry, if we can mill out some of those center gaps with a 2-foot grinder on the skid loader, we can pave that in and save quite a bit of money and extend life of the road. So, yeah, I mean, Mulberry, I think we have a couple other roads that we're going to be looking at soon. Like I said, I'm trying to get a 5-year plan together with roads, at least one major road every year. Unfortunately, we don't have a whole lot of MFT funds to do 3 or 4 a year, but if we can at least get things shovel-ready, design on the shelf, available for, you know, when grants and fundings open up, we may be able to move these roads forward and do them sooner, but at least we'd have a road for every year for the next 5 years. But we'll look at Mulberry and see if there's anything we can do, you know, even on our end to make
4th
improvements.
Street's another one, by the school, if you to Washington Avenue,
4th Street?
South 4th Street. That's a little section,
Yeah.
and I'm assuming it's from the buses being heavy and going on there.
Yeah.
You
On
mean
3rd
Fourth-
Street's been
Fourth or
I was
Third?
gonna say, you're
Or
talking
3rd Street,
3rd,
sorry,
3rd
3rd
Street,
Street.
okay. I was gonna say, I know 3rd Street
It's been on the
pretty
radar
much
for quite a while.
from, huh?
It's been on the radar for quite a while.
3rd Street's been on the radar. To Washington won't be as bad in cost.
Mm-hmm.
Past that is gonna be expensive because of the crown in the road.
Okay.
I think it's gonna be like Adams, where it'll be a complete redo on the base and all, because that crown, the base follows that crown. It's not a flat base under it that they built up a crown. So when you take that crown out, you're taking the base out as well. So you have to actually go deeper, redo the entire base, new stone and everything. So that's partially why some of the roads got delayed or pushed out, because I think it was Adams, we took the crown out and found that the base had to be removed as well, and it tripled the cost of that road.
So, just what makes these roads fall apart? I know age is one of them, but is there something in particular? Is it the way, how much traffic's on it? Is it the floods?
It could be the weight of traffic. Water's a really bad thing, so, you know, some of the streets in town you've seen where there's been some crack sealing done.
Mm-hmm.
Crack sealing is good when you have large cracks, maybe your centerline joint, maybe some transverse cracks start showing every 20 or 50 feet. You've also seen some streets in town probably that have been crack sealed that have what we call alligator cracking, because there's a lot of little pieces that look like the back of an alligator. When it gets to that point, it's really too far for crack sealing. You want crack sealing to come in when your large cracks start, help keep the water out of the base. You know, you can get maybe another 5 years out of it, 7 years out of it if you do it. So there's different types of treatments at different stages, and we've been looking at that. We tried a project last year that, as Lauren mentioned, we're still trying to get cleaned up this year. So some methods are more successful than others, but
It's traffic count. It's, you know, some roads hold water, have seen more water than others. There's a variety of factors there, and then I think a lot of the older roads have been, you know, just patched with pothole, you know, just cold patch over the years. You know, that doesn't seal the road. So when they, you know, back, you know, before we got the spray patch machine, they put, you know, hot asphalt in there, roll it over. It didn't really seal anything, so that would come back out. That pothole would expand. The new spray patch machine that we purchased last year is extending the life of the road, because that's actually sealing those potholes.
Okay.
After plowing this year, everything we spray patched last year didn't move. It didn't. Any potholes you saw this year, those are brand new. Those weren't because that spray patch popped back out like it would have if you'd cold patch. So
Is that a seasonal thing? Can it only be done on certain temperatures?
it has to be 50 degrees or above. The asphalt has.
Is there any limit with it being hot, like too hot?
No.
Okay.
No. We actually have to keep the emulsion hot. We have to keep it at 150 degrees, so we actually keep it plugged in when we have it. So we've already done quite a bit of spray patching, filling potholes this year. We just had to move on to, patching some concrete work, but that's gonna be back out here soon to do some road correction. So that's nice. You'll feel the road divot when there's a utility crossing, because it was, patched in years ago and it's settled now. That spray patch machine, we're able to level off the asphalt, at least get the road to ride a little bit better. So just tools like that are helping with the life of the roads. As far as why these roads are falling apart, it's just a lot of our roads are old. Look at Martin Avenue, the rest of Martin Avenue that we're paving. A lot of people were in shock that we were talking about doing that at first, until they realized it's a 20-year-old road that's seen a lot of bus traffic, and even though it was a dead end for 20 years, it saw a lot of traffic over there. So.
Now, is there ways to prevent that, whether we put concrete or anything else, harder base on there?
I mean,
The short story is that no community receives enough MFT money to maintain the roads, and it's always a gamble as to what, and
we couldn't afford to do concrete.
concrete is expensive, but, IDOT, years ago had RBI, they added the Rebuild Illinois Fund, so that added some money to the city's coffers for repairing roads. So the MFT tax just went up on gas, so whether or not we see any of that here, I don't know. That'll yet to be seen, but, basically the cost of road repairs are going up faster than what the funds are coming in generally. So it's, again, that's why we're trying, the spray patch machine helps, for a fraction of the cost. Lauren can go out with his guys and patch roads that otherwise, if you had to use asphalt to patch, it would have maybe taken a day to do a couple of patches the size of this desk. Well, now they can do probably 20 in a day. So it's...
And getting the material from IPC is not readily available. But, with us adding the crack sealing, trying to add other improvements, that'll help with the life of our roads. I think our roads have been ignored. I mean, they should have been, some of the roads should have been crack sealed 15 years ago, and they were just ignored, and they continue to deteriorate, and we're past the crack sealing now, and now we're just looking at mill and new asphalt. So we just have to continue to invest money in the roads as we see them break down, whether it's crack sealing or spray patching or some minor repairs here and there, and you're going to see that on a 10-year-old road. I mean, look at Fairman and Fourth. We're going to crack